Camels are spoken of throughout the Bible. The book of Genesis includes more references than any other book. In Genesis 24, camels are mentioned in 15 of its verses. But since camels are rare here in the United States, we may look at them as odd and not very useful. In fact, in the lands of the Bible, camels were prized possessions, and those who owned them were seen as very wealthy. The camel was quite useful in desert lands. They could carry heavy loads and could walk for days with very little food or water. The feet of the camel are large and flat with two large toes, perfect for walking in desert sand. Horses, donkeys, or mules would not fare so well in the desert since their hooves would sink into the sand, so they would require water and grass on a regular basis because it was more difficult for them to make that journey. While horses are generally faster than camels on hard surfaces and donkeys are better in mountainous terrain, camels are able to make long trips and carry larger, heavier loads. Horses would compare to our cars, donkeys are comparable to pickup trucks, but camels are basically like the long-haul 18-wheelers that we see used today. When Abraham was up in age, he sent his trusted servant more than 500 miles back to the land of his relatives, and there the servant was to find a wife for Abraham's son Isaac. The women who lived nearby were pagan Canaanites who worshipped idols. Well, Abraham wanted his new daughter-in-law to worship the true God and to raise children who would love the Lord. So the servant took 10 camels from Abraham's herd and loaded fine gifts upon them for the family of Isaac's new bride. When the servant arrived back in Mesopotamia, he made the camels kneel near a well of water. And there he prayed that a young lady of God's choosing would give him a drink and then would offer to water the camels as well. And this would be a big job to draw enough water for 10 thirsty camels, which had walked for days carrying these large loads. A beautiful maiden by the name of Rebekah, who was from the same family as Abraham, came out and gave the faithful servant a cool drink, and then she volunteered to water the camels until they had finished drinking. The happy servant had a beautiful answer to his prayer. Then he went to her home where he delivered the generous gifts and received the blessing of Rebekah's parents for the marriage. Well, the servant made haste to take her back to Abraham's home and to her groom. Rebekah and her young women rode on the same camels which had carried the gifts and had been watered by her willing hands. She married Isaac and became the mother of Jacob and Esau in Genesis 24. Another long trek by camels from the land of Sheba to Jerusalem brought loads of treasure for King Solomon. The Queen of Sheba made the journey to meet King Solomon and to listen to the wisdom which God had given to him. She was also amazed at the majesty of the buildings and the furnishings. Besides jewels and valuable spices, the queen brought Solomon nearly 8 tons of gold, worth over $200 million in today's money. Camels were so important that they were a symbol of a person's wealth. Before Job had all of his possessions taken away by Satan, we read that he owned 3,000 camels. And after Job had suffered and proven himself to be a true servant of God, the Lord blessed him with twice as much as he had before, which would be 6,000 camels. In the New Testament, camels are rarely mentioned, though their usefulness had not diminished. John the Baptizer wore a garment of camel's hair, Matthew 3:4. In 2 other examples, Jesus used the images of camels in impossible situations or in hyperboles to make a point. You can read of a camel going through the eye of a needle in Matthew 19:24, and of the scribes and the Pharisees straining out a gnat and swallowing a camel in Matthew 23 and verse 24. And so sometimes in our lives, the way may seem difficult, The burdens may seem heavy and the comforts may seem far apart, but we can take a lesson from the camel. Like the camel, we can have faith that our Master will safely lead us through the journey of life and will bring us to a refreshing rest when our labors end. Friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today, and have a blessed day.